Hey guys, Troy Dooley, the Beachside CEO, and it is, what time is it? It is 7:30. So instead of breakfast with the Beachside, I guess we're doing dinner. Hey, I am in Dallas, Texas, and I am stoked tonight, truly stoked, because tomorrow we'll start the Direct Selling Edge Conference. We have a packed house, and we're going to be talking about what it takes to build and develop and grow a business here in the 21st century in what we call Main Street. Dealing with direct sales, dealing with network marketing, MLM, party plan, whatever you want to call it. If you're trying to build a business that way, let me tell you, it's a whole new ballgame than what it was in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Even in the first decade of the 21st century, things have changed. So we're going to be digging into that at the conference. There's still a few tickets left. If anybody's around the Dallas area, man, we'd love to see you tomorrow. Love my sponsors, my supporters, Eddie Notes over there, Corey and the team. They are doing phenomenally well at getting us live and kicking over on Amazon. You can go to Eddie Notes, EDDYNOTE.com. Check it out. That's a good one. Maple Street Biscuit Company, now I believe a division of Cracker Barrel restaurants. I'm excited about this expansion already and what they are doing. So it's exciting as we move forward in this. We are at the Westin Hotel at the Galleria down in Dallas. I tell you, if you guys have never stayed at this hotel, it's beautiful. You can just drop down to the second floor. You can go out into the mall. You can buy brand new shirts like this one that says, "I love my wife." I already missed Paige. I've traveled this year and been without her instead of with her, and I don't like that. So hopefully next year we've got this replanned. That's what our fourth quarter is. If you guys aren't doing this, listen, your fourth quarter should be to regroup, pivot, and be ready for your next year. That's what it's all about. Sorry about that. It has been a dry day. Hey, we are going to talk real quick tonight about the four principles of communication, what I call credible communication. And the reason that is we started looking at comments, and I'm studying the comments on some of the podcasts that we've done, some of the Facebook Lives, even over on YouTube. It's interesting to see as I take and look at those comments, and then we go explore the people that have written those comments, why sometimes business is growing or business is failing. Not the companies. You see companies exploding, companies having great growth, but then you see people who make comments, and then when you go and you start studying, you see that their business isn't growing, and they get very defensive sometimes when they think, and this is a key here, when they think you're talking about their company versus maybe an ingredient, maybe a situation. It's interesting because I think what happens is we become judgmental when we're not having the success that we want, and we're not looking inward to say, what can we do different? Then anytime that we feel like we're attacked, anytime the company does something, doesn't matter what it is, if it's an outside, we look at the outside source first instead of looking at ourselves. So I want you to write these down as we go over them. I'm going to try and get my voice back before tomorrow. Number one, you have to be personal. You can't fake it till you make it. You can't pretend you're somebody that you're not. I've got a dear friend of mine, Dom Tischer, an American hero, served this country well, and I am so proud of the service that he's done. But he's a dear friend of mine. I've learned so much from him about just being authentic, just about being real. And we were talking today because he's got him a new Facebook page that he's put it up. He's doing some stuff, and he said, "Troy, am I supposed to be somebody that I'm not? I've had people tell me, well, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this." I said, well, I had the same thing happen. Matter of fact, one of my mentors, Tom Chenault, when I started getting into radio, said, "Troy, here's what you don't do. You don't talk about politics. You don't talk about your sex life. You don't talk about religion." And it's like, all right, I'm probably not going to talk about my sex life, but my faith and my politics, well, my faith especially, I'm going to talk about. It's hard to not talk about. Corey Augustine to tell you that. I just talk about my faith all the time. I don't care much about politics, but I am patriotic. So there are times when I enter into the fray and I talk about that. And Tommy was saying, you just can't do that. That isn't what you're supposed to do. You've got to be inclusive. You've got to embrace everybody. And I do believe that we need to be inclusive. We don't want to be divisive. Don't want to be judging people or being negative. But we got to stand for who we are and what we are. You know, if you're not going to stand for what you believe in, if you're not going to just be you, then are you really being personal? Because once they get in there and they see how you really are, it's like, oh my gosh. And with Dom's case, Dom's just no country boy. So he'll cuss a little bit. He may show up on a video, you know, with a gun on and chasing alligators, but he's built a successful online business. So when you're looking at the first principle, you need to be you. I understand that in sales we've got this duplicate. You got to duplicate. Follow your upline. I get it. I've done it for years. But have you ever done something that the upline says this is the system and it didn't feel natural, didn't feel comfortable? That's because it's not your personality. See, we need to follow processes. We do need to do that. But when it comes to what works for somebody else, that may not quite work for you. So you have to look at the process. I don't even like systems. You got to look at the process, study the process, and then you got to build that process around your personality, not somebody else's. Because if you do, people are going to think you're fake. That we see. Here's how we see a lot of this these days, and it is fake. But we'll see, and I get a lot of this because companies will call and say, how do we handle this in compliance? You'll see somebody's face or somebody's name. Actually, usually it's the name. You'll see somebody's name on a before and after picture, but the actual picture belongs to somebody else. Somebody stole the picture, put their name on it, put their product on it, and said, hey, look at me. I mean, that's as bad as a dating site. So you don't want to fake it. Here's the other thing that we see, and I challenge you not to do this. If you had great success in a company and you just changed everything, your energy's back, you're healthy, you've lost weight, and then for whatever reason you go to a new company and maybe it's a similar product, don't be telling the story that actually happened in company A over at company B, because people will find out. So you're not being personal there. That isn't going to build credible communication. So you've got to stop that. Number two, you've got to be plain spoken. This is something that just, we see it in church and we see it in industries. Okay, we use internal vernacular language that the common person doesn't understand. So when you go to church and maybe you don't go to church a lot and you sit down in the pew and the pastor looks at you and says, you need to be saved. You're thinking, saved from what? Is the building falling down? What's going on? They start talking about being filled with the Holy Ghost. You don't even know what the Holy Ghost is. You're thinking, whoa, this is a little freaky. Because we use vernacular inside the church that most people don't know. The same thing happens whether you're in insurance, real estate, network marketing. You come in and start talking about, hey man, we got to see what the CV is, what the PV is, and do you know how many do you want in your downline? People saying, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. Oh man, you got to get on auto ship right now, man. You got to be on it right this second. And those are words that we're not quite sure what are. See, you need to be plain spoken. Talk to people based on what the masses are. I mean, network marketing is kind of humorous to me because we have emeralds and diamonds and rubies and we have sapphires and we have princesses and queens and kings and we got all these terminologies and people are saying, I don't have a clue what that is. Instead of talking to them about ranks like they would understand in the regular world. Well, here's where we kind of start out as just a salesperson. Then you can go up and you'll be a district manager, and then you might be the regional manager. And if you work your way all up, you can have like your own division of things. You can talk in a normal language to people so they understand. Now, we all do this. I mean, Saturday I did a video because you guys know on the weekends we do the news and opinions, and we kind of cover some stuff that's happened in the industry. and I was covering a couple of ingredients that were just hit by New Zealand that are in some products, and it happened to be a product that's manufactured out of the United States. So because these are medical terms that are like, this long, I mispronounced them. And then I had people come in and say, oh, so you don't know anything that you're talking about. You can't even pronounce the word. Well, heck, I doubt if anybody could pronounce the word, to be quite honest, because it was one of those long doggone words. Next time I'll figure out an easier way to say it. But I'm using this as an example because here I am trying to just get some information out. Tried to sound smart and ended up sounding pretty ignorant, okay? And that's how we sound when we're using internal verbiage that nobody knows about. So talk normal to people. Figure out how you can just say in plain spoken language, hey man, if you feel like you're fat, I may have a product that's going to help you out. People are going to appreciate it if you're straightforward and honest with them. Hey man, if you're feeling down, if you've got a little bit of anxiety maybe, hey, this product gave me some more energy and it's helped me out a lot. See, that's how you're able to talk to people. If you come into them and you're wanting to talk about your part-time opportunity and you're sitting there saying to them all this rigmarole, you can become a multimillionaire. Man, let me tell you, in 90 days, you're going to explode. People don't want to hear that. People just want to know, hey, can I make a little extra money? How do I do that? Just give me the first 3 steps and I'll be okay. Don't try to jump down and talk to them about the binary, the unilevel, the Aussie 2-up, or the matrix, or whatever it is. They don't care. What they care about is just you being normal with them, man. Don't act like you're smarter than they are. Just say, hey, you might be able to make a little extra money this way. If you get 3 customers, you get your product for free. If you find 3 people that maybe they want to sell this on a part-time basis because they need money, then you can make a little bit of extra money off what their sales are. Just be plain spoken. That's all you got to do. Number 3, be positive. Now listen to me. This is one that cracks me up. There's positive, there's negative, and there's critical. And critical and negative sometimes get screwed up because there's times when you have to be thinking in a critical fashion. You've got to be looking at this from using some logic in it when you're talking to people. But you don't want to get into the dull, negative, disillusioned crap that's out there. If somebody in your downline is whining about the company, shut them up. And just say, look, man, I don't know anything about that. Call support. Do whatever you got to do. Here's where I'm going. Now, if they come to you like I did on Saturday and say, hey, there's some ingredients in here, man, and I read some stuff and I'm not sure about this. Can you get me in with the science team? Can you get me with the formulator? Do we have any white papers on here? This isn't being negative. That's being critical. Because the odds are the person saying, whoa, I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. The last thing you want to do is sell somebody a product, they get sick, they die, whatever the case is, and then you get hit for it. And on Saturday's video, I had people say, Troy, that doesn't happen. Well, tell that to Herbalife back in the 80s, okay? Matter of fact, we could talk about that with a current company right now where their product is being blamed for causing something to happen. Look, it's going to happen. So don't pretend it's not. Just say, hey, I don't know the answer. Let's figure out if we can find the answer because the product's worked great for me. I don't know about these ingredients. But don't chastise somebody for that. So don't mistake the negative and critical. It's pretty simple to know. Always take the critical information and be positive about it and say, man, let's figure it out. Because in every ounce of criticism, there's going to be a little bit of truth. And if you study the truth, then you're going to be able to grow. There's not been a company, there's not been an individual that's ever seen their business go to pot, ever gone to jail, ever done anything for majoring in the minor details. You have to major in the minor details in order to build your business and have that positive, successful path that you want to go. So don't get into the mundane crap of negativism. But understand, you want to take the critical information, find out what it is if you can, and then positively push it forward. Don't spin it, don't hype it. Just be positive. Man, that's Troy just brought this up on a video about this ingredient. I see it in our product. Well, hey, you know what? I know he studies a lot of stuff. I don't know anything about this. Let's go to our company and find out what they have on it. Don't just take my word or anybody else's word, but take the information, use it positive for you. Now, why is this so important? I'll tell you why it's important. Back in 2004, I was building my Zango business. We were going pretty good about it. Man, Sherman Unkerford was a stud over there, one of the greats in direct sales. I was downline to him. We're going, and I had a guy say, well, what about this thing that I just found on Sherman Unkerford? And he sends me over this whole giant subpoena where Sherman's being indicted on bank fraud and embezzlement and all this crap. It's like, whoa, why didn't somebody tell me about this? Man, I don't know anything about that, but listen, he's an awesome guy. I'll find out for you. And I went and I dug around. I found out what happened. I was able to go back to the person, but I was embarrassed. This was a friend of mine. I didn't know how to respond. Don't just go into your business blindly. Know who you're working for, know who you're working with, be positive, go blow this thing wide open. You have to do that. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you're going to start thinking like the negative person. Then you're going to say, man, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if it's worth it. I don't know if I can trust anybody. I think everybody's lying to me. And then where are you at? You've put a few $100 in probably into product. Now you're not selling the product. Your spouse is mad because it's sitting in the garage with all the other product. You don't do that. Just push this thing forward. Number 4, I know it's late. Excuse me. You got to be plausible, okay? This is the problem that we see on the internet right now.